Well, we've got a rare one tonight. Oh, sorry, I hadn't got the Instagram machine flowing yet, but we got it going now. We're live now. We're live now. It is the Toronto Beer Podcast with me, your host, Chris Schreier. Might be a spectacle if you're watching on YouTube or Instagram, but you will note tonight, if that is the case, that I am not wearing my spectacles. I forgot to take my contacts out before I sat down to do that. So you get a spectacleless spectacle of my countenance, to use a fun word. But all that's neither here nor there. You know what we're going to do. We're going to sit back. We're going to listen to Rob Currie and the Currie brothers, and then we are going to talk beer. And here they are. Yes, indeed. That was, of course, Link Ray Gun, our theme by the Currie brothers, the pride of Gravenhurst, Ontario. As always, check out that record. Link is in the bio. If you haven't checked it out by now, either you're just tuning in or you do not like cool things. I was going to say, in either way, no, actually, those are two totally different things. If it's the former, well, get in there. And if it's the latter, then get stuffed. That's what I say. Anyway, how you guys doing today? I am tired. My golly, I did not want to get out of bed this morning, and it did not get better as time went on. If anything, it got worse. You know what that means. This could be a quick one, but I got a really exciting beer. I always like getting a bit of beer in the mail, and I got this in the mail. This is Limberlost Pomme. This is a beer cider hybrid from Sawdust City in Gravenhurst, Ontario. Also the pride of Gravenhurst, Ontario. Sent along to me by my good friend Sam because he was sad that I had to miss Funk Fest because I had to be a grown up. And sometimes being a grown up sucks. But then sometimes you have friends who take care of you. And that's what happened to me. So I got this beauty. I haven't read the side of the can yet. I just about did there and I caught myself. I mean, I kind of know what I'm getting myself into, but also I kind of want to be surprised. So let's do this here. This could be very active. I should open it over my crotch, not my computer. Okay. Passed the first test. It didn't gush all over my crotch. Brought a fancy glass for the kids at home. Oh, Jared's just joined in. Jared, look what I got. Oh, you recognize that. I've seen him posting photos of this. My little brother Jared works at Sawdust City, so he's had this before. He knows what we're getting into. Now, if you're new around here, it might be worth reminding you, Limberlost is a strain of yeast, uh, or it might not just be yeast. There might be some bacteria in there too. Anyway, the point is, bunch of people from Sawdust went camping in the Limberlost forest with some of the guys from Escarpment, and they harvested a bunch of berries and leaves and flowers and junk, and took samplings of the yeasts that were growing naturally on those things and identified a viable candidate, which in this case is this yeast called Limberlost. So there's a wild harvested yeast. It's then cultured, so it's not like a fully wild ferment. There's control involved. They're using a yeast strain they're familiar with. But also in this beer is apple juice from West Avenue Cidery. And that apple juice would also come packed with its own cocktail of yeast and bacteria. And then I believe this was made in oak. And so that oak might also be infected. I'm not sure about that. The point is to say, we really don't know what we're getting ourselves into. It's going to be probably tart and funky, and it should taste of apple. So let's see what we see. Well, I mean, mm, oh my gosh, right out of the gate, it does smell of apple cider, very much so, but also with this really Belgian-y, saison-y kind of spicy yeast. There's definitely Brettanomyces in there. Couldn't tell you specifically which one, but that's funky. There's some barnyard in there. And then the thing is, there's probably some other funk characteristics because, again, it was a bit of a mishmash of yeasts and bacterias. So who's to say? Trying to see if I can pull out any malt on the nose or hops? It's hard to say. I'm gonna go in for a taste. Okay, that was a little more sour than I was expecting. And it was also very effervescent, very carbonated. So as I swallowed it, it kind of foamed up in my mouth. It really got me in the back of the old throat there. Smaller sips. Let's try that again with a slightly smaller sip. I was pretty thirsty when I laid into that, to be honest with you. Mm, much more manageable. Huh. So very tart, like sour, acidic, in a pleasing way. Cidery, right? Like apple cider. Uh, quite dry. Oh, there's definitely some. Oh yeah, yeah. You get way more beer on the palate. Mm. Still, ton of Brettanomyces, clear. I don't know if I would have been able to tell you blind that that was the Limberlost yeast, but definitely a nice, spicy, Belgian-y, yeasty character to it. Um, the beer notes show as like a glimmer of a saison in the background. So like a bit of Pilsner malt probably, and sort of a. It's really hard to pick that hop out because it feels like you're working around apple skins, and apple skins are not particularly hoppy, but they often do have a certain um, astringency to them. There's something leafy to the hop. I'm really going searching here. Let's flip over and talk about the apples for a minute. The apples have a very assertive tartness to them, also some bitterness. Again, that uh, apple skinny. Jared's curious to see the hop predictions. I don't know. For I have no idea. Um, there can be astringency from the skins in the apple. So I'm getting quite a bit of tart, like almost like underripe Granny Smith, with the astringency that I would associate more with like a cider apple. Cider apples are not typically very good eating apples. They're actually kind of bitter. But uh, but yeah, quite tart, quite astringent, and maybe just a little cooked. There's like a touch of maybe stewed apple to it. Um, but it's not massive. It's quite snappy and much more like a tart sort of scrumpy cider. And again, with all that funk coming off of the yeast and the bacterias, it's it's funky. Mm-mm-mm. Really dry. Did I mention that? Like into the bone dry territory. Really almost foamy effervescence. It's quite bright and bubbly in the mouth. Still working on those hops, Jared. It's so hard to disentangle because of the apple, which is so